A very warm welcome to everybody to this session on the political crisis in Bangladesh. On my right is Ambassador Rafiuz Siddiqui, former High Commissioner of Pakistan to Bangladesh. He was also a High Commissioner in Kenya and permanent representative to the United Nations Environment Programme and UN Habitat. When he was posted in Kenya, he was accredited to many countries in the African continent. Ambassador Rafiuz Siddiqui has been one of Pakistan's most distinguished diplomats. On my left is Professor Syed Sikander Mehdi, former Chairperson, Department of International Relations, University of Karachi. He has a passion for peace studies. He has written prolifically, contributed a great deal to peace studies, and is a leading peace scholar in Pakistan. He has the distinction of having been in Bangladesh in 1971 when Bangladesh was created. I am Masuma Hasan, Chairperson of the Pakistan Institute of International Affairs and former Ambassador and Cabinet Secretary of Pakistan. Some of the happiest moments of my life were spent in East Pakistan, which is now Bangladesh. I traveled extensively outside Dhaka to Chittagong, Mymensingh, Rajshahi, Khulna. I stayed in the residence of Dr. Kamal Hussain, who used to be a member of this institute when the country was one. He became the foreign minister of Bangladesh and is said to be the architect of its constitution. And I had the privilege of being taken around Dhaka by the legendary Professor Abdul Razak. This is my tribute to all of them. Bangladesh has had a very tumultuous history. It was born in violence and in bloodshed in 1971. Its history is full of military coups, protest movements, political assassinations, and violent protests. The foremost, the most significant assassination was that of its founding father, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, which has really no precedent in recent history of the world. And we should assess the 15-year rule of Sheikh Hasina in this background of distress and violence. She grew up while her father was Pakistan's political prisoner. She knows all about student politics because she was a very active student, activist. She was appointed, she was elected to the Students' League, a students' political organization which was founded by her father in 1948. In power, when she came to power, she ruled with an iron fist, never overcoming the trauma of her father's fate and never overcoming what she considered the atrocities of Pakistan or the Pakistan Army in East Pakistan in 1970-1971. She carried that bitterness with her to the end, although Sheikh Mujib had signed with Pakistan and India the tripartite agreement, which pledged to put the past behind them, and that was in April 1974. She was not a stranger to prison. She was in and out of detention throughout the 1980s, and it was while she was living in exile in 1981 that she was elected president of the Awami League. As Prime Minister, her rule was criticized for enforced disappearances and suppression of dissent, and for being close to India. But under her stewardship, Bangladesh saw a great boom in its economy. Its per capita income grew, was much larger than that of Pakistan, but also higher than that of India. She was ruthless, and she hanged aged Jamaat-e-Islami members as punishment for their role in supporting Pakistan during the Bangladesh Civil War. And some of them were actually hanged decades after the war had ended, decades after, 45 years after. And as we all know, in the face of the student-led protests against her, she fled to India on the 5th of August, this month, on the 5th of August, 2024. Sheikh Hasina has accused or claimed that the United States of America was responsible for her downfall. We all know that the United States of America has interfered in the affairs of countries all over the world and has tried to engineer regime changes. But the reason she gave, there may be other reasons we don't know about, but the reason she gave is that she did not hand over to them St. Martin's Island, which is a tiny island. It is a coral reef island, which is inhabited only by a few thousand people. She said that she did not hand over that island to them, where they wanted to make a military base, and so they toppled her government. Of course, as analysts, we all know that there were many reasons why the government was toppled. And St. Martin's Island is such a small little island, it's a coral reef island, that I doubt if a big military base could have been installed over there. Now, coming to Bangladesh as it is today, the situation today, they call it the Monsoon Revolution. It is also described as the second liberation of Bangladesh. The first, of course, was liberation against Pakistan. And it is marked by the student-led protests against Hasina's government, Sheikh Hasina's government. The students were very courageous. They defied curfew, and they took to the streets. In the run-up to the mayhem, 400 people are said to have lost their lives, but actually there may have been many more. And 450 of the 600 police stations in the country had been torched, and the police has gone on strike. And in this mayhem, as often happens in civil unrest, this is not peculiar only to Bangladesh, it happens in civil unrest that the protesters turn on the minority community. In this case, the minority community comprises of the Hindus, and they have been turned upon also in the past in Bangladesh. Their homes and businesses and temples have been torched. Some Hindus have tried to flee to India, into the West Bengal province, but they have been denied entry, and understandably so, because India does not want a refugee problem on its hands. The choice of Dr. Muhammad Yunus as advisor, he is called the advisor, although in practical terms he is the Prime Minister, in the interim government was dictated by the students. I watched his entry into Dhaka airport. We flew in from France he got a very grand welcome. In his cabinet, he holds 27 portfolios. And so I don't know how much justice he can do to those portfolios, but he holds 27 portfolios. He has also inducted into his cabinet, as a gesture to the students' movement, 2 students. The more important of them is Nahid Islam, the student leader who has led this movement. Many questions can be raised about what will happen in the future. How interim will the interim government be? The opposition has asked for elections to be held in 3 months. But according to Sayyida Rizwana Hasan, who is the advisor to the chief advisor, nobody is talking about elections. The emphasis is on reform. In movements of radical change, the reformists always come forward and take center stage because they feel that there is an opportunity in a new kind of setup to reform the structure of government and society. Meanwhile, there has been a great vacuum so far as governance is concerned in Bangladesh today. The Chief Justice and many junior judges, the Governor of the Central Bank and his deputies, and many top bureaucrats appointed by Hasina have been forced to resign because of the pressure of the students. Also, vice chancellors of universities have been forced to resign. So there is a very fluid situation with the army, which was actually the institution which took over power when Sheikh Hasina was thrown out. The question will also be raised as to what will be Bangladesh's relations in future with India. Dr. Yunus has said that India had forged relations with Hasina, Sheikh Hasina, as Prime Minister and not with the people of Bangladesh. The students, on the other hand, have asked for accountability and justice and for the arrest and trial of Sheikh Hasina and her extradition from India to Dhaka. No doubt, the student-led movement has been remarkable. There have been similar movements in other countries also. There was a students' movement against General Ayub in our own country. The students of Bangladesh are perpetually vigilant. The movement has been remarkable not only for its intensity, but also for its success. The young people are still in the streets of Dhaka and in other parts of Bangladesh, and the protests continue. The Hindu community continues to be targeted. It is my pleasure now to request Ambassador Rafiuz Zaman, Siddiqui, to address the audience. Very good. If you are comfortable with that.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Dr. Masuma Hasan, Chairperson, PIIA, Professor Sikander, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum and a very good evening. In fact, I had written quite a lengthy paper, but whatever I have written has already been said by worthy Dr. Hasan, so I'm wondering whether should I go through it or not, or I should just jump to, the anecdotes about my stay in Bangladesh. Would that be okay with, because whatever I have written, you have said it. Bangladesh is a very, very interesting country for us. It remains a paradox. I had the opportunity of serving there twice, once in a junior capacity as counselor from 2002 to 2006, and then as High Commissioner from 2016 to 18. And both the times, there was a government of BNP when I went there. So things were all hunky-dory for Pakistan. It was like a piece of cake. I will just try to be as succinct as possible, that I arrived in Dhaka without visa. And that was my diplomatic blunder of my career. And when I arrived, and I was taken to the VIP room, and I was just a counselor. So that was quite a pleasant surprise that in such a junior capacity, an officer is welcomed in the VIP lounge. My colleague sitting here from Turkey would vouch for that normally, you start receiving all these perks when you reach a higher position of a deputy ambassador or ambassador. But anyway, I was taken there, and my colleagues from the High Commission who had come to receive me, and the official who took my passport for clearance, and when they saw, they said, he's without visa. How can he enter? And I knew very well, and I said, no, I have a diplomatic passport and SAARC member and blah, 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 but it was all cock and bull story. Anyway, the High Commissioner was Iqbal Ahmed Khan, was an extremely competent and conscientious officer. He was told that Rafi is coming, and Rafi is a very competent officer, and he'll be very good to your High Commission. So my first impression, arriving without visa, was, of course, the ambassador was taken aback and shocked that how could he land without visa? But anyway, those were BNP days. So Deputy High Commissioner, another very competent officer, Khurshid Anwar, he went and told the High Commissioner that Rafi has arrived, but he doesn't have a visa. So he just was taken aback, and he said, how could that be? Anyway, they spoke to the Foreign Office, and whatever time it could take, because Dhaka's traffic is so convoluted and so, very, 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 dense. So it took about an hour or so for somebody to come from the Foreign Office. They stamped a visa on my passport, and I was out. But the official who was handling it, he said, "Sir, आप ऐसा करें, आप पीछे दरवाजे से निकल जाएं. आपको कोई नहीं पूछेगा." I said, no, this I don't want to do. I don't want to leave the airport without visa. So ambassador was very impressed. High Commissioner, that he's very good. It means that he did something very right. But when I came out and I saw Dhaka, and I was coming from Madrid, so it was a phenomenal change. Madrid was, of course, a developed country and a beautiful place. And when I came out, I saw multitudes of people clinging with the glasses and all kinds of traffic on road, from cycle rickshaws to buses to minibuses and pedestrians. It was complete chaos. And it took me good 2-3 hours to reach the place where I was staying, where I was put up. So this is what I'm telling you, that this was the difference. And when I went in 2016 to Dhaka, the city had changed phenomenally, not only politically speaking, but infrastructurally. I mean, I was amazed to see Dhaka. This was Dhaka when I was there. I could see naked poverty staring into your eyes. But this time, there was definitely a change. I mean, I won't say that poverty had vanished, but of course one could see the discernible change. And Dhaka was a totally different place. Gulshan, which is a mostly diplomats lived there, and Bari Thara. वहाँ पे कच्ची type सड़कें होती थी. They were all, every road had a footpath. Paved, yes, paved. And this time, I could, those were the time when I would see people shoeless, not wearing just a tiny dhoti around their waist. But this time, there was a change. Now, as I'm talking, there are about 15 five-star hotels, 4 to 5-star hotels in Dhaka. We don't have that in Karachi. And anytime better. And the kind of apartments, those we don't have in Karachi even today. So this was the change, when I talk about the physical change in Dhaka. Similarly, there was a drastic change in politics as well. Being the High Commissioner, when you arrive, you start, writing to the Foreign Office, meeting with the Foreign Minister, courtesy calls on the President, on the Prime Minister, but I was not welcomed. I mean, of course, credentials had to happen because that was something which was necessary and it had to happen. The Foreign Minister never ever received me. The Foreign Secretary never received me, except when the need be, when they wanted, or if there was a summons, or if I was called for something, which happened twice in my stay in Dhaka. So, the first, official interaction is that you meet Foreign Secretary also before you present credentials, but I was not called. I went for my credentials, and that was an experience. The credentials was an experience. And normally in credentials, you never bring any irritant in your relations. No, I mean, that doesn't even happen with India. But here, the president said all kinds of things, which I never expected him to. But one thing interesting happened. By mistake, the talking points for president, which was he's supposed to raise with me, were mistakenly handed over to me. And when I opened the file, and I thought it's, that there are procedures that what you are supposed to do. But when I opened the file and I saw the talking points for president with Pakistan's High Commissioner, I looked at them and I froze. And I thought, I came and I discussed it with my colleagues in the High Commission. So the defense advisor in our High Commission, who's now Major General, was a very, very competent and a very, very brilliant officer. He said to me, "Sir, I don't think so that he's going to raise it. This is ridiculous." I said, "But one should be prepared. You never know. He might." And he did. He said to me things which I cannot, report here, but I told him very deferentially that, Mr. President, these are your views, but we have our own views. Very respectfully. Homo, you can sit there. There is a seat there. So, the president was, he said all things and I reported it to the Foreign Office. Similarly, once I was sitting in the High Commission and I received a phone call from the Foreign Office, DG, asking me to come and see him immediately. I was summoned. So I asked him, what is the issue? So he said that, please go and see your Facebook. Our High Commission had a Facebook. So I said, what's there on the Facebook? So I opened it and I said, oh my God. No wonder I'm being summoned. There was an interview on one of the TV channels in Pakistan where Mujibur Rahman Shami was discussing 71 with the police officer, junior police officer, very elderly, who had served with Sheikh Mujibur Rahman while he was imprisoned in Pakistan. So he said that actually Bangladesh was created by Ziaur Rahman, late General Ziaur Rahman, Khaleda Zia's husband, and not Sheikh Mujib. This was like dropping a bomb. So I was asked to come. And you won't believe that when I got out of the mission with my colleague and I arrived at the Foreign Office and I entered, there were about 300 to 400 journalists, a battery of journalists with cameras and everything. And as soon as I got out of the car, they all poked their, mics. That, what do you have to say about it? So I said, I've not even had a meeting with the Foreign Secretary, so let me go and see and meet him. I was taken to a room. Normally there is a VIP room for the ambassadors. I was not taken there. I was taken to a room which was huge. And there were just two chairs, one for me and one for my colleague. And there was a huge round table in front of me with the surrender picture put on it. So I sat there and then I was taken to the Foreign Secretary was not there, so acting additional Foreign Secretary was there. He was a very fine person, very fine officer. He was sitting there with a glum face and he looked at me and made it more glummer. And he said, look what you guys are doing. And he went on with his tirade and I kept on listening to it patiently. When he finished, I said, any High Commissioner or any officer of the High Commission, Pakistan High Commission, sitting here in Dhaka, do you think so? We'll do such a thing to damage our relations with you? Our job is here to build bridges of understanding between our two countries. But of course, he was very upset. So he handed over to me an aid memoir, which contained all what he had said. So I said, Foreign Secretary, I would request you to please withdraw. I don't think so that you should be giving it to. He said, no, but it has been accepted at the highest level. Highest level, meaning Sheikh Hasina. By the way, I have to say one thing here, that everybody in Pakistan call Sheikh Hasina Hasina Wajid. That's not her right name. That's a wrong name. She should be called Sheikh Hasina. Everyone, even a paper like Dawn. I'm surprised sometimes adds Wajid with her name. Anyway, so I felt like asking him, is it Sheikh Hasina? And you wouldn't believe that when I came out, when the meeting was over, and of course I was very, very disturbed. Dhaka is a very, very sensitive posting for our officers there. It's like walking on a tightrope. So I said, when again, there was a barrage of journalists, they again came. I said, I just didn't respond to them. I sat in my car and went away. And next day I saw in the newspapers that the High Commissioner of Pakistan said sorry about what had happened, and I had not even said anything about it. But whatever they wanted to report had happened. So these are the two differences between the government of BNP and Awami League. But at the same time, I would like to record here that of all the postings that I have had, France and Spain and Saudi Arabia and others, Bangladesh is my favorite posting because the people of Bangladesh were so welcoming towards me. They were so, forthcoming, and even the people from the colleagues from the Foreign Office. There were always challenges, but I always got support from them. They were very, very, caring about me. They knew that I am having difficult time, but they would be very, helpful towards me and the Bangladeshi people. Perhaps there was also a reason that when I went to Bangladesh on my first posting, I would like to say here that my grandfather, Chaudhry Zaman, was the governor of East Pakistan in the 50s and late mid-50s, yes. So people knew him very well, and he was widely respected there. And besides that, there were some family members who went there as CSPs. So I was a known commodity in Bangladesh in that sense. And the first thing that I wanted to do was, I could read Bangla in the sense that because I'm fluent in Hindi, I could read and write Hindi. So Bangla is very close to Hindi. So I was able to make out. And then there was also another part of my diplomatic duty, which I thought was to have cultural relations with Bangladesh. So I learned Bangla music. I'm very fond of music. And I would sing songs in Bangla at every party, even if I was not asked to. I was so fond of music. So I became very friendly with Runa Lela. She keeps sending me messages even today, and Shabnam, and Robin Ghosh, and Firdausi Begum. So they all became very pally to me. And I was, widely received and welcomed in the Bangladeshi society. So those were lovely days, and the people was, as I said, I really enjoyed my posting. Culturally, Bangladeshis are so rich. I used to feel really sad at times to have lost them. And I may say that kuch galtiyan to hamari bhi thi. We also made mistakes. और मान लेने में उनको मैं समझता हूँ बड़ा ही है, छोटे आप नहीं हो जाते. We lost such a wonderful province. Our politicians, our, establishments, they have all, messed up with things. I mean, what they say about 71 is highly exaggerated. No doubt about it. I mean, the figures that are quoted are exaggerated. But what has happened now is like a monsoon revolution. I would at times wonder that Bangladeshis with so much of political acumen, they are taking so much of, nonsense in the sense that Bongo Bandhu Sheikh Mujib Sheikh Hasina had turned her father into a god. Anything said about him was treated as a blasphemy. The figure of 3 million killings, you could not raise it. And you see what is happening now. I mean, the way they are demolishing the statues of Bongo Bandhu, which were put up at every road section, and his posters dotted all over the country are being torn away by the student, and everybody has joined in the movement. It is, I would say, and I do not approve of it, and the burning down of his memorial, I would say, was really a bad thing to do. They have demolished their historic, invaluable archives. Burning down of his memorial was not the right thing to do. But then mob has its own way. It's very difficult to control them. You see what they were taking when they attacked the Prime Minister house. They were taking away unke sofe, TV, kursiyan, battakhein, everything. उनके हिरन भी उठा के ले जा रहे थे. People were relishing food there. She has become like a political pariah. Every student had turned into her ideological opponent because she used the word Rajakar. Rajakar was, supporting Pakistan army,
Jamaat Islamis. And then I heard these very interesting slogans. Ek, do, teen, char, ami, tumi, Rajakar. I mean, they started saying themselves Razakar. And there is a bird, I hope I'm pronouncing correctly in Bangla, and they started calling Sheikh Hasina Jabar, which means autocrat. She had made herself so unpopular that the Bangladeshis were overfed with Bongo Bandhu worship. And this reduced to such a, or sorry situation. It must be hurting her to see how Bangladeshis, in fact, her son said that my mother is so disappointed. But your mother is responsible for this disappointment. She's the one who led to all this. Sheikh Hasina, as we all know, 15th August, when Sheikh Mujib Bangabandhu was brutally massacred along with his 18 family members, save these two, Sheikh Hasina and Rehana. Since they were out of the country, they were saved. And she herself, August is quite an, tumultuous month for them. 5th August, she had to leave Bangladesh when the Chief of Army Staff, Zaman, expressed his inability to protect her. And he said he will not be shooting now the protesters. So, Nahid Islam, as mentioned by worthy Dr. Masuma Hasan, and Asif Mahmood, another his colleague, who they are advisors now. So they were the one who were in the vanguard of the student movement. So the things came to such a sorry state where she had to leave for India in a military helicopter along with her sister Rehana. Although she resisted, but the Chief of the Army Staff called her son Joy in Washington and asked her to prevail upon her, and told her that she had to literally in 45 minutes. Otherwise, things could turn really gory. She left. But it's very interesting to see that how India reacted to all this. Sheikh Hasina has been their strongest ally, the only friend in the region now. If you look around the Indian map, you will see that they are all up in arms against India, and it is only Bangladesh which was closest to them. The Bangladeshis were upset about her, proximity with India, and India always was breathing down their necks. Once I remember, Indian High Commissioner, when I was there as counselor, said to my High Commissioner, and he had served here as Consul General in Karachi, Tripathi, his wife, what was her name? Manilal Tripathi. He said to my High Commissioner, and in Urdu, Hindi, ये अजीब बात है कि यहाँ पे हमने इनके साथ इतना कुछ किया और ये हमी से नफरत करते. So then the Bengalis will turn around and say that it was not out of love for us, but you had an axe to grind with Pakistan. I mean, Indian High Commissioner could not travel on the streets without security. The Bangladeshis would, while I would roam around everywhere. I would go for walks near my park, and once the Indian High Commissioner, in fact, himself, he said, "You go alone?" So I said, "Of course, on walks, I'm not going to take the party with me." So this was the difference. Yes, okay. Thank you so much. Okay, but just before I finish, I would like to say the message from us to them should be that if at all, because there is a likelihood that BNP and Jamaat Islami coalition might come, which would be, good for us in the sense that our relations which are lying in deep freeze for a decade and a half will revive, hopefully. And I would also like to say a word of caution here for our people, that Pakistanis by nature are very emotional. हम बहुत excited हो जाते हैं बहुत सी चीज़ों पर और बहुत फजूल बातें करने लगते हैं. जैसे मुझे फ़ोन आने लगे कि अब ये पॉसिबल है कि पाकिस्तान और बांग्लादेश एक हो जाएं. I said, this is ridiculous. We should respect the sovereignty and integrity of Bangladesh. And our message, which I think our Foreign Office has already said, it is a very good statement from them, that we should convey and we should hope that we have friendly and brotherly ties, and we wish our brothers and sisters in Bangladesh all the very best for their future. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador Saab, for your talk, interspersed so much with your personal memories and your friendships and all your activities, especially your passion for music in Dhaka. I would now request Professor Sikander Mehdi to take the floor. Sikander was in Dhaka when Bangladesh was formed. So he has vivid memories of what happened at that time. He also has, if I'm not wrong, very kind recollections of the people with whom he lived and worked. Sikander, are you going to call it Freedom's Cry? Freedom's Cry?
जी?
Freedom's Cry?
Freedom?
Freedom's Cry. He is going to call his talk Freedom's Cry.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Masuma Hasan, for inviting me. Thank you very much, Dr. Masuma Hasan, for providing me the opportunity to share my ideas with you and with the audience here. It's an honor to be here and speak before such distinguished audience. My presentation is essentially on freedom's cry in Bangladesh. And I would like to focus on the significance of the recent and continuing political crisis for my own country, Pakistan. Before going into the details, let me briefly tell you that we belong to Bihar. I was born in Gaya district in Bihar, and this district is globally known for hosting one of the famous Buddhist shrines. So my friendship with Gautama Buddha is from the very childhood. Later we migrated to East Pakistan. My father, Akhtar Payami, was a very respected journalist in Dhaka. And I had seen my mother weeping and remembering the other family members who were left in India. So I also had the pangs of separation from very childhood. I studied in Dhaka, in the school, in the college, in university. And in 1970, in January 1970, I joined the University of Dhaka as a lecturer. So it was, and I was an activist student. I will be on the street demonstrating with the Bengali friends and other friends against the terrorism of Ayub Khan and denial of democracy to the people. and against, of course, Vietnam War and the racism in South Africa. So I was a well-known Urdu-speaking person, a person from Bihar in Dhaka University. And Dhaka University is the mother of Bangladesh. Now, 71 comes, and military action takes place. And I witnessed with anguish what happened there. And we lived in a Bengali area, and we were never insecure. Of course, there was the insecurity of a mob coming on the way to university. Anybody could be killed, so lived dangerously. But we lived peacefully in the Bengali area. There was friendship. And I continued teaching in Dhaka University in 1971. And we stayed on after the fall of Dhaka, and I continued teaching in Dhaka University in 1971 also. And my father had the job, and he was known to the leaders of the new country. Then a time came when the family decided to move to Pakistan. We had absolutely no problem of job or insecurity, so to say. I went to my chairman, who was a Bengali and a very distinguished professor, told him that we are moving to Dhaka, to Karachi, of Pakistan. And he said, Sikandar, don't go. We are your teachers, we are your mentors, we know you, and the new country will need people. We will open embassies, foreign office, we will open universities, and we will need persons like you. Then I said that, sir, we have to go because there will be a split family again, and we can't suffer that agony again. And secondly, we had come to Pakistan, and wherever Pakistan be, we would be there. So we left, the family left, not because of any pressure, but it was a voluntary decision. Came to Karachi. Next day, I looked into the newspaper in Karachi and learned about a report saying that Bihari na khape. There was demonstration going on. So Bangladesh is a totally different type of country, and Pakistan is a totally different type of country. So when we look at Bangladesh, we must realize that we are discussing a country about which we do not know much or anything at all. You see, the recent happenings, while I was preparing my talk, I very carefully looked into the reports published in Pakistani media on the recent happenings in Bangladesh. Someone says that it's an opportunity for Pakistan. Someone says it is a setback for India. It seems as if an apple is about to fall down into the lap of Pakistan. Now, it was also said that there were speculations about the Jamaat-e-Islami and its potential role in the future of Bangladesh. Now, Jamaat-e-Islami, as in Pakistan, it never got more than 5% votes in Bangladesh. It was not leading the movement in Bangladesh. So, and I saw reports talking about as if there is going to be a total change in Bangladesh. Jamaat-e-Islami, it has been restored, it was banned, but it doesn't mean that it can play a very crucial role in the future politics of Bangladesh. Perhaps it will look for a Bangladeshi Zia-ul-Haq than a total revolution in the country. Now, looking at the features of the recent change in Bangladesh, we should remember that the movement was not led by any prominent political leader. It was not led by any major political party. It was not led by any prominent human rights activist in Bangladesh. The students led the movement. And the students of Bangladesh historically are different from the students in many other countries. If you remember the Bangladesh language movement, on 21st July 1952, the students were killed because they were demanding a state language, the recognition of the state language of Bangladesh. On 21st, the people were killed. On 22nd, there was demonstration again. The people were killed again. And on 23rd February 1952, they were building the Shaheed Minar. So that is the kind of response and reaction to violence against people. And that is a historical thing. Now, the change has come. And the students have spoken, and the case is finished. Now let's move towards the future of Bangladesh. There is a cabinet now, and Muhammad Yunus is internationally known. He is a Nobel Prize winner, but he is not Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. He is not Nelson Mandela. He is not Martin Luther King Jr. He is a social reformer. His model of development is welfare-based capitalist development model. And he is a technocrat. And he is not the leader of the movement. He was summoned, he was harassed during Hasina's time, but it doesn't mean that politically he qualifies to be the head of the government. But it's a good choice. Of course, it's a good choice. In Pakistan, people are a little bit, their excitement has slided a little bit because they now note that Mere Aziz Hamwatano is not happening. So you see, the interest of the media is sliding, but Mere Aziz Hamwatano can happen in Bangladesh. Now it's a triangular fight. On the one hand, you have the students who are very powerful, and so powerful that the military could not take over. And most probably it wanted to take over because the general came on the TV, made the announcement, and went back. And so powerful are the students that they went back. They usually don't go back. Now, the fight is that on the one hand you have BNP, which was created by the military and which doesn't have the roots as Awami League has the root in Bangladesh, as its student wing has the root in Bangladesh. So probably there would be, what would Yunus do? because he doesn't have a political standing. He is there because of the student support and because of the military support, and maybe because of the support of parties like Jamaat-e-Islami and other parties. It's true that Hasina was hounded out, and she deserved it because of the repression, disappearances, extrajudicial killing, and oppressive policies. But is Bangladesh heading towards a democratic government? And I have my reservations, because I see all sorts of statements coming out saying that a new Bangladesh will be created, a revolution has come, but they are not putting forward the date for the elections. So are they going to weed out the Awami League activists, the forces? Will Yunus join the army against the students? Will they make the students divided? So the picture is not finished yet. And the lesson that Pakistan can learn is, the media is talking about repression and persecution and disappearances and extrajudicial killing in Bangladesh and condemning it. So are we thinking of our own society? What our society is? Who is controlling the society? So there is a need to learn lessons from Bangladesh and to rectify things before it is too late. And Pakistanis, as our friend, Ambassador Rafiuz Zaman said, are very emotional. He is a career diplomat. He will use the term emotional. I will use some other terms. So, you see, would the students rise up in Pakistan? Would the people rise up in Pakistan? And we have the strange habit. You know, I remember that one day I was a very young lecturer in Karachi University. I took a class, came out, and I saw another young teacher screaming, and he was full of joy. And he said, do you know, Indira Gandhi got killed today? So for him, it means that as if India was killed. And he is now a professor, he has retired, and he is, well known, not from international relations to which I belong. Now, in the same way, when the Taliban in the 1990s went to Afghanistan, we were so excited. And then again, this time, 3 years ago, when the Taliban went, we are so excited. But countries have their own interest. With my little study and experience, I can say that there is no country in South Asia is interested in a Pakistan-led anti-India coalition, military coalition or economic coalition or political coalition in South Asia. No country of South Asia will accept a Pakistani-led coalition against India in South Asia. Because Pakistan it has lost the power to exert. It is itself struggling. So the Pakistanis need to understand that there is still time that we move, that a movement is made for freedom in Pakistan and freedom in other countries. It's at the end, I would like to add that Pakistan has been called differently. We very often talk and very, very seriously and casually and jokingly, we say we are not normal country. Someone else calls it a hard country. And someone else says it is Pakistan, a country without nationalism and not even without people. A journalist, a New York Times journalist who was here and served Pakistan for 9 years and then he was hounded out. He says that it's an inshallah country. You see? And in my opinion, Pakistan is a frozen country. It's a frozen state. Its imagination is frozen. So its future is frozen. And that's why this is the perspective of the media in Pakistan on what is happening in Bangladesh today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Sikander Mehdi, for your very provocative talk. And I think I can only use the word provocative for it. But we will not all get provoked, I assure you. Some of us will, some of us won't. And now I will open the floor to questions and answers. Just let me just take a stock of Junaid Saab ko de. तकरीर मत कीजिएगा प्लीज, सवाल पूछिएगा.
मैंने 2 पॉइंट्स क्लियर करने हैं कि ये 3 मिलियन का फिगर जो कि शेख मुजीबुर रहमान के मुंह से निकला था और उसके बाद डेविड फ्रॉस्ट एंड प्रेड इट ऑन द BBC. I have covered this in great detail in my book on creation of Bangladesh, Myths Exploded. And the second thing that I want to say to Professor Sikander Saab, in my second book, which is 1971 Ethnic Cleansing of Biharis, I have documented what has happened to Biharis from on the basis of 6 newspapers of Pakistan from March 1971 to February 1972, Dawn, Pakistan Times, Jang, Jasarat, Nawai Mashriq, and Times of London, New York Times, Washington Post, and Guardian. And I have documented from there as to how much killing has happened. I totally 100% disagree with you. I have documented there that more than 660,000 Biharis and non-Bengalis were killed in East Pakistan by the Mukti Bahini and by the Indian Army and the Awami League miscreants. Thank you very much. I wanted to correct these 2 points.
Thank you very much. Actually, after Sheikh Mujibur Rahman was released, I think he went to London, and then he came to Dhaka, and at the airport he said that 3 million Bengalis had been killed. Just a minute. Please let me speak. The 3 million Bengalis were killed, and that issue was also raised by Justice Humodur Rahman in his very voluminous report. It's called the Humodur Rahman Commission Report. And according to him, it is his assessment that not more than 26,000 people were killed. Because he says very naughtily that so many people could not have been killed even if the Pakistan army had nothing to do.
Your permission.
Yes, sure.
You know, this figure has remained the bone of contention between our 2 nations, and apology comes from that. There is a book by Sarmila Bose, Dead Reckoning. And Sheikh Hasina was delighted to know when she heard about her coming in her book, because she has all the credentials which were supposed to support Bangladeshi's point of view. But to her utter dismay, she completely destroyed that statement from Bangladesh.
She came to Pakistan, she went to Bangladesh, she went to India. Because she was Hindu, she was Bengali, so it was expected from her. But her book, when it came, it shocked the Awami Leaguers, and so much so that her book was banned in Bangladesh, her entry was banned in Bangladesh, she was not allowed. So this figure of 3 million, my point of view in the matter is, it's not the question of 1 million or 3 million or 500, or even if one person was killed wrongly, was wrong. It is not the question of 3 million. It is the question, the killing, which was not right. And the 26th March action was greatly harmed. And it destroyed Pakistan. That was the end of Pakistan. So I just wanted to add here that. Thank you.
You see, my position on this is that the Biharis were and are the citizens of Pakistan. They are the responsibility of Pakistan. So instead of Pakistan talking about what happened, it should bring back the Biharis who are still in Dhaka and other places.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Shafkat. I am Research Associate NEMA Karachi. My question for Mr. Investor Saab, what do you think of after the current situation of Bangladesh, the relation between Pakistan and Bangladesh, India factor? Because इंडिया का बड़ा रोल है कि पाकिस्तान और बांग्लादेश के अच्छे तल्लुकात ना रहें और आप इस चीज़ को एज आया स्टूडेंट आप ग्रेट पावर कंपटीशन इस बांग्लादेश में जो सिचुएशन हुई है उसमें आप कैसे देखें इंटरनेशनल ग्रेट पावर कंपटीशन जो हो रहा है कुछ कह रहे हैं कि यूएस का बड़ा रोल है जो रिजीम चेंज हुई है या यूनिस आया है तो उसके पीछे भी यूएस है आप कैसे देखते हैं चाइना का फैक्टर भी और यूएस का फैक्टर भी थैंक यू
देखिए अभी डॉक्टर साहबा ने अपने रिमार्क्स में ही मेंशन किया कि बांग्लादेश शेख हसीना ने जो स्टेटमेंट दिया है रिसेंट उसमें उन्होंने मर्सीफुली पाकिस्तान को स्पेयर कर दिया है लेकिन उन्होंने यूएस को कहा है कि जी उन्होंने सेंट मार्टिन आइलैंड्स की वजह से जो कि आई थिंक इट्स अ वेरी फ्लिम्जी आर्ग्यूमेंट विच इज़ नॉट बीइंग बॉट बाय मैनी चाइना का हमेशा से एक ही किरदार है इंटरनेशनल रीना में कि वो किसी के मामलात में दखल नहीं देते जहाँ तक बांग्लादेश का ताल्लुक़ है उनके बढ़ते हुए ताल्लुक़ात उनके बहुत इम्प्रूव हो गए हैं इवन शेख हसीना के दौर में शी हैड विजिटेड बांग्लादेश आई मीन चाइना जस्ट बिफोर शी वाज थ्रोन आउट बट दैट विजिट टर्न्ड आउट टू बी क्वाइट अ फियास्को इट वाज सपोज्ड टू बी फॉर 4 days एंड शी रिटर्न्ड इन 3 शी डिड नॉट गेट मच तो इंडिया के लिए ये भी एक नाइटमेयर होता है कि बांग्लादेशीज चाइना के करीब ना जाएं। आपने पूछा कि इस वक्त कैसे हालात हैं हमारे और पाकिस्तान जी इंडिया फैक्टर की मैं बात करूं कि कैसे ताल्लुकात हैं तो देखिए हमारे और बांग्लादेश के ताल्लुकात में इंडिया का एक बहुत बड़ा रोल है इतना बड़ा रोल है कि यानी बांग्लादेश हमें वेलकम नहीं करता पाकिस्तानी को वीज़ा ही नहीं मिलता यानी आपको लंदन इंग्लैंड का मिल जाएगा बांग्लादेश का वीज़ा आपको नहीं मिलेगा तो वो क्या फैक्टर है वो इंडिया फैक्टर है और इंडिया और बांग्लादेशीज भी मजबूर होते हैं इसलिए कि देखिए इंडिया इज़ एन इकोनॉमिक जॉइंट एंड इट हैज सराउंडेड बांग्लादेश फ्रॉम ऑल साइड्स चारों तरफ इंडिया है एंड इट्स अ ह्यूज इकोनॉमी और उनके बहुत डीप इकोनॉमिक पॉलिटिकल एंड सोशल रिलेशंस हैं बांग्लादेश से वो आप नहीं डिनाई कर सकते अगर वो पाकिस्तानी अगर कोई बांग्लादेशी पाकिस्तान आता है और फिर वो इंडिया जाना चाहता है तो उसको इंडिया का वीज़ा नहीं देते तो उनके लिए पाकिस्तान इतना इम्पोर्टेंट नहीं है जितना इंडिया इम्पोर्टेंट है इंडिया का रोल ये इतना है कि they remain tight-lipped about all the oppressive actions that were being taken by Sheikh Hasina's government. They remain tight-lipped. They never spoke about, objected on human rights, situations. वो हमेशा खामोश रहे हैं US, UK, UN, EU, human rights bodies, Amnesty International, they have condemned, they have also not approved of the recent elections, because every election that was held after 2009 was massively rigged. It had brought one party rule in Bangladesh, which was like, you know, the demise of political demise of democracy in the country. So इंडिया का बहुत बड़ा रोल है हमारे और उनके रिलेशंस में. इतना बड़ा रोल है कि in the last 15 years there have been no VVIP visits जो कि बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट होती हैं ऑप्टिक्स के लिए. ना कोई आपका फॉरेन सेक्रेटरी लेवल बायलैटरल कंसल्टेशंस में है, ना आपकी JEC मीटिंग हुई है. सार्क जो कि मैं समझता हूँ कि बिल्कुल एक इम्पोर्टेंट और डेड ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है, उसकी समिट होनी थी यहाँ पे 216 में. इंडिया ने मना कर दिया तो बांग्लादेश ने भी मना कर दिया. अब वेस्ट बंगाल, उनका जो ईस्ट बंगाल, ईस्ट पाकिस्तान से जो बांग्लादेश से जो मिला हुआ है, उससे जो उनकी क्लोजनेस है बिकॉज ऑफ लैंग्वेज कल्चर, तो वो दैट कैन नॉट बी डिनाइड. तो इंडिया का तो रोल रहेगा. और अभी यानी कल मोदी ने बात की है for the Hindus with and also he has wished him well, you know, Yunus. देखिए relations जो होते हैं वो मुल्कों के दरमियान होते हैं. और आपने भी सैयदा क्या नाम रिजवाना की बात की. I was listening to her interview. She was very eloquent. I think we all need to listen to her. And she has spoken so eloquently. उसने सवाल किया कि जी आपके यहाँ तो हिंदुओं को, तो उसने कहा हमारे यहाँ तो हो रहा है, लेकिन हमारे यहाँ कभी यानी जमात इस्लामी की भी बात की कि यानी जो रेडिकल पार्टीज हैं उनको वोट ही नहीं मिलता है. उनकी जमात इस्लामी हमारी बेचारी जमात इस्लामी की तरह से, उसकी स्ट्रेट न्यूसेंस वैल्यू तो बहुत है लेकिन वोट वैल्यू बिल्कुल नहीं है. तो और प्रोफेसर साहब ने भी बात की कि जमात का कोई ऐसा बड़ा रोल नहीं है, लेकिन एटलीस्ट उनको जब मेरी चीफ ऑफ आर्मी स्टाफ ने BNP से और जमात इस्लामी से बात की तो इट गेव देम द यू नो कि इम्पोर्टेंस मिली है उन्हें, जो कि जस्ट शेख हसीना हैड बैंड जमात, so they have been taken into the political spectrum, come onto the political spectrum of Bangladesh.
From this side of the house, इनको दीजिए.
In the engineering university, I mean, the people in Pakistan are worried that what was the situation in 1971 is still the same in Pakistan. In 1971, winning party leader was in jail. In 2024, winning party leader is in jail.
Yeah.
So, the manipulation of establishment of the election, everybody knows about that. We are not saying, because the Washington says that the manipulation of establishment of the election, we are fed up with this. So,
भाई आप सवाल पूछिए ना.
whether our culture will change or not, that is the question.
मैं उस प्रोफेसर साहब से क्या देखिए, मेरा नहीं ख्याल कि कोई ऐसे फिनोमिनल चेंज आने वाला है जो आपका सवाल कर. एस्टेब्लिशमेंट को जो है, सिंस वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट बांग्लादेश, तो मेरे ख्याल से ये बांग्लादेश के लिए भी मैंने ये लिखा था कि इट इज सिने qua non फॉर द एस्टेब्लिशमेंट इन बांग्लादेश टू एंश्योर फ्री, फेयर and transparent elections in the country with no political engineering involved in bringing favorites. ये बहुत ज़रूरी है. Even Awami League has roots in the people of Bangladesh. We cannot deny that. तो उसको भी पूरा मौका मिलना चाहिए इलेक्शन में लेने का. There is also feeling coming in that BNP और Awami League both should be discarded. दोनों को आजमा चुके हैं. And this new breed of students who have led the movement, they should also participate in elections. But I think this is too premature. I mean, students तो हुकूमत नहीं बना सकते हैं ना. उसके लिए आपको ज़ाहिर बात है एक एक्सपीरियंस, आपको एक एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव चीज़ों की ज़रूरत होती है, पॉलिटिक्स की ज़रूरत होती है. मूवमेंट चलाना एक और चीज़ है और हुकूमत चलाना बिल्कुल दूसरी चीज़ है. और जैसा कि यूनुस साहब, प्रोफेसर यूनुस का भी प्रोफेसर सिकंदर साहब ने कहा कि वो बहुत डिफरेंट है एक इस वक्त की इंटरिम गवर्नमेंट रन करना और एक प्रॉपर गवर्नमेंट रन करना. उसके लिए आपको बहरहाल ज़ीरक सियासतदानों की ज़रूरत होती है और वो रहेगी.
हुकूमत करना एक बहुत मुश्किल काम होता है। लोग जो हैं तनकीद बहुत करते हैं, लेकिन हुकूमत करके तो दिखाए।
My question is to Ambassador Siddiqui. Ambassador Siddiqui, am I audible? Yeah, sir. You made a good presentation, and I think your analysis was objective and dispassionate. And you rightly said that the way the places of historical significance were vandalized by the crowd, that is lamentable. You are absolutely right. One can always disagree with autocracy of Hasina Wajid, but one cannot, I think, overlook the contribution made by or the role played by Sheikh Mujib. Now here comes my question. Do you think any political dispensation in Bangladesh now, any new setup, will be sustainable if it does not include Awami League?
Gee, I agree with you. It will be difficult for any government because you see, you cannot wish away a party overnight. आप उनके जो Awami League has been in power now for the 15 years, whether we like it or not. It was able to entrench itself, and also because the economic situation of the country had indeed improved. Over the last 2 years, it started deteriorating because of various factors. So much so that Bangladesh had to go for IMF loans to avert the economic meltdown. तो अवामी लीग को ये आप समझें कि वो कोई ख़त्म हो गई है और स्टूडेंट्स यूनियन से आप उसको विश अवे कर देंगे, नहीं, ऐसा नहीं होगा। ये उसी वक्त पता चलेगा जब इलेक्शंस होंगे और फ्री एंड फेयर होंगे। सो आई एग्री विथ यू कि अवामी लीग रहेगी।
Thank you so much, sir, everyone, for this presentation. Well, my question is to Dr. Masuma that whenever we see this political chaos that happened in the name of revolution or Arab Springs, for example, the visual comes always, very dark. Even we see in the case of Gaddafi as well, we saw it in Sri Lanka as well. So how to, whenever these political chaos happen, it always, some international conspiracy comes up, like Hasina, also hedged its story. And we miss the part that people of Bangladesh have been suffering. There have been human rights abuses. There was no sustainable development, and only, people have been exploited in the university, in the industry as well. So how to filter that from these movements so that it will remain pure, basic, the student-led movement that it was. And now we are all talking about the influence of international countries. Why we are missing the student movement, how to make it, how to save it, these kind of movements that are student-led, so that the people, the problems of Bangladeshis can be solved. That is my question. Thank you.
I don't really understand your question.
Should I?
I don't really understand, but I will tell you. What you are saying is that there is this student movement, student-led movement, and how it can be saved.
From international conspiracies like Hasina, hedged that they wanted and Martin's Island. And for example, Imran Khan here, said that it's an American conspiracy. So how to save these movements, which are pure student-led movements?
No, but the point is, who is to save them? We can't go from outside Bangladesh to save the movement. The people themselves have to save it. They are the ones who have to acknowledge whatever is positive in that movement in order to save it. Like I think, and I may be wrong, but I think that the present dispensation over there does align itself with the students' movement. उनकी वजह से तो हुआ है ना, ये जो चेंज हुआ है वो उनकी वजह से आया है ना, तुलबा की वजह से आया है ना।
चेंज क्या आया है, मतलब
चेंज मतलब जो हुकूमतें, मेरा मतलब ये नहीं है कि मुआशरा बदल गया, मेरा मतलब ये है कि जो डेवलपमेंट्स अब हुई है ना, वो स्टूडेंट लेड हुई है ना।
प्रोफेसर साहब, मेरा क्वेश्चन आपसे है। आपने बांग्लादेश में ढाका यूनिवर्सिटी में पढ़ाया और कराची यूनिवर्सिटी में भी आप प्रोफेसर हैं। What is the difference between the two students in both the countries? What is the difference? Where do you see the difference? What are Pakistani students like and what are Bangladeshi students like? what is the difference?
This is his favorite topic.
Wonderful question. Wonderful question. I love the students of Karachi more or Pakistan more because I would like them to become like the students of Bangladesh. You see? There is a huge difference. And it's the difference of political and cultural resistance which is there in the blood of Bengal. A seminar was being held here. I was also speaking about it. And a Bengali teacher said that when 1857 came, then the people from this part of the world, they sent military forces to help the British. And the forces were sent from Bengal to help the Mughal king. You see, so there is a history, but Bangladesh clearly says that, it's not the monopoly of Bangladesh. Longing for freedom is a universal thing. And secondly, Bangladesh says that development does not guarantee continuity and stability. And Pakistan should be very careful because everyone talks about Chinese system of government or Korean system of government or Singapore or Malaysian. I say, why don't you look at New Zealand, Australia, US, UK, Norway, France? They are democratic, parliamentarian, and also developed countries. But we will always think of Malaysia. So if the teachers tell their students that Malaysia is the model or China is the model, and if the political leaders say that, then that will have an impact on the students. So it's because of unfreedom that our children are not so active. They haven't even, come to the street for the restoration of students' union in Pakistan for 40 years. So it's their right to have unions.
Hi, my name is Waqas Alam. I'm a reporter for Geo News. I was just supposed to cover it, but I couldn't resist the question. For 10 years, I've been the part of student movement in Pakistan, seen ups and downs. As far as my information goes, Bangladeshi student movement was not led by just groups, but actually student union collectively, started from university. But it's been more than 39 years student unions are banned in Pakistan. And since 2019, when I was the part of the steering committee where Murtaza Wahab and we negotiated the bill, and then suddenly the bill whisked away and the conversation went down. I just want to, because you guys, like all of you are well-read intellectuals, I just want to understand the thought process. I want to understand what's stopping Pakistan to unban student unions so that everything we see across the world in many ways, politically, culturally, societally, is flourishing, evolving, except Pakistan. As you said, Pakistan is a frozen state. But why we are not talking about, restarting it again by unbanning student unions? Who is stopping Pakistani state to unban it?
In the first place, I don't agree that Pakistan is a frozen state. I don't think it is frozen at all. It's very fluid. And I would like to comment on what you have said. When I was studying in the University of Karachi, we had student unions at that time. And the union at that time played a very important and significant role politically. The union led the first movement against Ayub Khan. It fizzled out, and the leaders of the unions were tried under martial law, and they were sent to prisons. They had to go to various prisons in Bawalpur prison and one or two other prisons. they were they were tried under martial law regulations. So the unions were very important. Now, why did they ban the unions? They banned the unions because they are so afraid of the power of the young people. It's as simple as that. They don't want them to be able to unite, to put forward because you can put forward your demands more forcefully if you do it through a union instead of a single person standing up and talking about it. So I think it's just a fear of the youth. This is my view. I don't know if Sikander agrees. He agrees, and you also agree.
Absolutely.
They both agree. Now, there are so many questions, and we can't sit here forever, please.
शुक्रिया, अस्सलाम वालेकुम। मेरा नाम अनुषे आलम है। आई एम अ ह्यूमनिस्ट और एंड रीजनल पीस एक्टिविस्ट। मेरा एक सीधा सादा सवाल ये है कि इतनी कॉन्फ्लिक्ट के बाद जितने बाशऊर माशरे हैं या ममालिक हैं, चंद होंगे, लेकिन वो हमेशा वॉर क्राइम्स की माफ़ी मांगते हैं। हमें क्या इतनी मुश्किल है कि हम माफ़ी नहीं मांगते? एक छोटा सा वर्ड है माफ़ी, तो हम क्यों नहीं मांग रहे हैं माफ़ी बांग्लादेश से? ऑफिशियली नहीं है, पब्लिक कोई नहीं चीज़ हुई।
Thank you, Anusha. Pervez Musharraf did go, just a minute, when he went to the Martyrs Monument at Savar, he said he was very sorry, but he did not officially say sorry, apologize. He didn't, and I'm glad he didn't.
देखिए, आपका सवाल जो है, that is very pertinent, and it is the main, as I said, हमारे और बांग्लादेश के बीच में सबसे बड़ा मसला जो है apology का ही है। और बिलफर्ज, hypothetically speaking, अगर हम मांग लेते हैं माफी, तो सबसे ज्यादा तकलीफ आपको पता है किसको होगी? इंडिया को होगी, क्योंकि हमारा जो उनके दरमियान जो इतना बड़ा रिफ्ट है वो ही खत्म हो जाएगा। मुशर्रफ साहब गए थे in 2002 February, 7-8 months before my posting to Dhaka, and he went to the Savar, जो कि एक मेमोरियल है उनके फ्रीडम फाइटर्स का, और वहाँ पे उन्होंने जाके लिखा था और रिकॉर्ड किया था that I deeply regret the incidents of 1971, which was like short of apology, and that had created a huge goodwill in Bangladesh because it was like a step towards an apology. And then he reiterated it at the banquet hosted in his honor by Khalida Zia. So he said the same thing at the, so there was, Bangladeshis में बहुत एक hope हो गई थी कि जी पाकिस्तान is moving towards apology. लेकिन जैसे डॉक्टर मासूमा ने कहा, देखिए apology कह देना तो बहुत आसान है, but it will open up a Pandora's box. हम उनसे कहते हैं, जैसे मैंने कहा कि चाहे आप एक को मारे चाहे आप लाख को मारे, उन्होंने भी तो बिहारीज और वेस्ट पाकिस्तानीज का कत्ल किया. So will they apologize? Can we ask them कि आप भी माफी मांगेंगे, जिसका कि कोई सवाल ही पैदा नहीं होता. But the situation remains, the status quo है relations में, तो I don't think so कि हम उसकी तरफ बढ़ेंगे.
My question is to His Excellency. We serve two important terms in Bangladesh.
I'm sorry?
My question to Your Excellency, having served two terms in Bangladesh, why don't we get the Biharis who sacrificed themselves for Pakistan back to Pakistan, and we have gotten 4 to 5 million Afghanis who today are against us. What can you emphasize on not getting the Biharis to Pakistan as was promised to them by the previous governments in a number of times? Thank you.
जी देखिए, आपका सवाल बहुत ही वैलिड है, और मैं आपको एक चीज़ ये बताऊं कि when I went there in 2002, तो without fail every day रोज बिहारी मेरे पास आते थे और बिहारियों की एक लाइन होती थी वीज़ास के लिए. But this time, surprisingly, not a single Bihari turned up at our High Commission. So I wonder कि क्या उनकी एक बाकायदा एक यूनियन है, उनके एक अलहाज नसीम, उनके एक बिहारियों के जो लीडर थे, उनको हम लोग फाइनेंशियली सपोर्ट करते थे। एक राब्ते आलम इस्लामी से हमने उनका एक फ़ंड बनाया हुआ था, और एक वक्त ऐसा भी आया था कि मियाँ चुन्नू में या कहीं उन लोगों के लिए घर बनाए गए थे पंजाब में, या दे केम। लेकिन मसला ये होता है कि दे ऑल वांटेड टू कम टू कराची, और वहाँ कोई मियाँ चुन्नू या जहाँ पे भी था वहाँ कोई रहना नहीं चाहता था, भाग के सब बिहारी। तो जो बिहारी नखपन सिंध में एक बड़ी मूवमेंट थी उस ज़माने में, जब जैसा कि प्रोफेसर साहब ने कहा। तो इस दफ़ा मुझे ये हैरत होती थी कि ये सारे बिहारी कहाँ गायब हो गए। They didn't, usually they would come and meet the High Commissioner. कोई नहीं आया। तो मैंने 2-4 लोगों से वहाँ पूछा, जो ऐसे बिहारीज जो के पढ़े लिखे थे, जो जॉब्स कर रहे थे, तो उन्होंने कहा जी आपके मुल्क का इकोनॉमी का ऐसा बुरा हाल है, बांग्लादेश इज डूइंग बेटर, तो कौन वहां जाना चाहेगा जिस वक्त बांग्लादेश की इकोनॉमिक हालत जो थी। देखिए, लोग इकोनॉमी की वजह से मूव करते हैं एक जगह से दूसरी जगह। अब वो वहां पे बेहतर है, उनके लोग जो हैं आपस में। एक शॉप पे मैं गया तो आई वाज टॉकिंग टू समबडी, उनको पता चला कि मैं हाई कमिश्नर हूँ, तो उसने इमीडिएटली उर्दू बोलना शुरू कर दी मुझसे। तो मैंने कहा, उसने कहा मैं बिहारी हूँ। तो मैंने कहा रियली? मैंने कहा आप लोग तो कोई आ ही नहीं रहे। तो उसने मुझसे कहा अब हमें पाकिस्तान में इंटरेस्ट नहीं रहा है। सच्ची बात है। अब देखिए जनरेशन बदल गई है। इट इज 50 years। जो उनका नया लॉट है उनको तो मैंने, यंग लोगों को तो मैंने कभी हाई कमीशन में नहीं आते देखा। उनके ओल्डर जनरेशन जो है दे स्टिल लुक अप टू पाकिस्तान। एंड मगर जो हमने, सच्ची बात यह है कि जैसे कि आपने कहा अफगानीज तो यहाँ भर गए और बिहारीज को न खपे नारा लगाना शुरू किया। एंड देन दे लॉस्ट होप इन पाकिस्तान ऑल्सो कि आपके मुल्क का खुद ऐसा बुरा हाल हुआ है और बांग्लादेश इज डूइंग बेटर, एंड दैट आई कुड सी माई सेल्फ ऑल्सो। तो कौन आना चाहेगा? तो इसकी एक वजह मेरे ख्याल से ये है, आई कुड बी रॉन्ग, बट एक ये वजह भी हो सकती है मे बी। सिकंदर साहब कुछ
जी, कैंपों में अब भी लोग हैं और उनको बिहारी कहना भी गलत होगा, उनको पाकिस्तानी सिटीज़न कहना चाहिए। और पाकिस्तान अच्छी बात है, वो लोग वहाँ रहना चाहते हैं, वो ऑप्शन दे दे कि जो पाकिस्तान आना चाहते हैं वो अपने मुल्क आ जाएं, जो बांग्लादेश में रहना चाहते हैं वो वहाँ रहें। आइडियल सॉल्यूशन तो ये है कि डुअल नेशनलिटी का होना चाहिए, लोग काम काज करें और पॉसिबल। लेकिन ये कि मैं एग्री नहीं करता एम्बेसडर साहब की इस बात से कि बिहारियों का इंटरेस्ट पाकिस्तान आने में ख़त्म हो गया है। और कैंप, जब तक कैंप्स वहाँ मौजूद हैं, इट मीन्स दैट दे वांट टू कम टू ढाका, कम टू कराची।
देखिए, मैं इसमें थोड़ी सी कंट्रीब्यूट कर सकती हूँ। देयर वाज दिस लॉर्ड एनल्स who was working for the repatriation of these so-called Biharis to Pakistan. And in one meeting in my house, when Benazir Sahiba was visiting, because she used to visit our house whenever there was an MRD meeting, he said, Lord Annals also came, and he said that he wanted to talk to her about these Biharis who are really, in their own hearts, they are Pakistani citizens. And she was so much against it. And he said to her, I plead with you, and she said no. And the reason which was in her mind and which I can understand is that she thought that it would somehow bring about a change in the demographic pattern in this, especially in this city. Because as Ambassador Saab has said, you can take them to any part of Pakistan, but they would come to Karachi.
because that is the case. Wherever they set, there will not be like even after 75 years, people migrating from India are still called Mahajir.
No, but they also want to call themselves Mahajirs.
City of Karachi and Hyderabad, which are accommodating Mahajir. If you go to Lahore, I myself have experienced that since I was working for PIA, when I was posted in Lahore, when I went to get a rented house, I was still Karachi, Karachi वालों को घर नहीं देते। मैं माफी चाहता हूँ कि ऐसी बात नहीं है। ऐसी बात talking about my experience। ठीक है, वो मैंने सुन ली बात और सुन ली बात। मैं भी लाहौर में पला बड़ा हूँ और मैं भी मालूम वाला है।
नहीं, देखिए हर एक का मुख्तलिफ एक्सपीरियंस है। मैं तो सिर्फ बता रही थी कि मेरे सामने जो गुफ्तगू हुई थी, मैंने उसके बारे में बता दिया कि वो उनका एक, मेरे ख्याल में उनका एक जेन्युइन कंसर्न था कि उनका ये ख्याल था कि वो कहीं भी आप उनको बसा लें, वो कराची में होंगे। बादशाह
जी, thank you so much, Syed Muasha. This could go on for a long time, and I think it's necessary. I think there's a great desire for dialogue. I think this is very important. I think this is something we can do. तो सिकंदर साहब से मैंने आपका स्पीच से एक बड़ी यूनिक बात मैं उस पर थोड़ा सा गौर करना चाह रहा हूँ। हमें सिखाया जाता है कि पाकिस्तान बना ही हमारे बंगाली ब्रदरान बहनों ने मिल के। तो आज भी जो बांग्लादेश के अंदर जो फाउंडिंग फादर्स में नाम हम गिनते हैं, वो आज भी वो है रिस्पेक्टेड है, and as we respect them in our history as well. And you made a comment saying that because we came to Pakistan, that is why we moved. Now my question is, did not the Bengalis also come to Pakistan? Where is that sentiment? Is that still there? This is a question. The second point that, Madam, you mentioned reformist, but my question is it reform or is it reactionary? Because what I'm seeing is that the Bengali politics in the 50 years that we've seen has been bloody. It's been Mujibur Rahman first, then blood there, removing him, blood there, Hasina, blood there. Question is, will there be blood here as well? And is this going to be a repeated cycle? And last, some comments from Ambassador. As Pakistanis, and knowing the Bengali people, what can we do as individuals in this time? Should we also say, ek, do, teen, hum bhi hai razakar? Or what is the strategy for us? Yes.
एक्चुअली जो वर्ड रज़ाकार यूज़ हुआ था डेमोन्स्ट्रेशन में, वो सैटारिकली यूज़ हुआ था, क्योंकि रज़ाकार वहाँ पे वो समझे जाते हैं जिन्होंने पाकिस्तान का साथ दिया था। हाँ, नहीं, तो वो बात थी। जहाँ तक इस हाँ, एक्चुअली मैंने जो स्टडी किया है कि वो बांग्लादेश में जो कुछ हो रहा है उससे हम क्या सीख सकते हैं। यानी अगर आप शेख हसीना के रिप्रेसिव रूल को कंडेम करते हैं तो आपको रिप्रेसिव रूल जहाँ जहाँ है उसे कंडेम करना चाहिए। दैट शुड बी द बिगिनिंग। वो हम नहीं करते। शेख हसीना के रूल को हम कहते हैं कि डिसअपियरेंसेस होते हैं, एक्स्ट्रा जुडिशियल किलिंग होती, तो थॉट प्रोसेस को आगे जाना है। एंड दैट्स व्हाई आई यूज द टर्म फ्रोजन in the context of Pakistan. तो जो कुछ करना है हमें खुद करना है। हमारी अपनी हिस्ट्री, हमारा अपना कल्चर जो कहता है, लेकिन ये कि फ्यूचर का सफ़र तो जारी होना है और अनफ्रीडम्स को फ्रीडम्स में बदलना है। Let it take 50 years, let it take 20 years, let it take 1 year. But that's the only process. We cannot just, the change is, it's impossible to resist change forever. Change will come. मेरा कंसर्न ये है कि पीसफुली चेंज आ जाए, वो वायलेंस ना हो जो बांग्लादेश में हुआ है। कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल प्रोसेस के थ्रू फेयर इलेक्शन, लीडर्स डिटरमिन हो, पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज डिटरमिन हो, फ्रीडम्स आ जाए, तो you won't need such massacres of the people. And it's possible. Peace studies says that there are alternatives. And peace is possible in Pakistan because the people of Pakistan are very peaceful and their cultural heritage is very peaceful. हमारे जो shrines हैं, हमारे लोक गीत हैं, वो full of love हैं. We need to go back to them. So we are not a violent society. The system is violent. And we need to fight the system because we love our country.
Thank you.
Shukriya. My question is towards the unfreezing. What are the lessons learned from what we have seen in Bangladesh? There are three things: political philosophy, governance, and economics. So which comes first? Where should we focus to unfreeze and take us forward? Thank you.
Actually, Bangladesh में जो कुछ हो रहा है, we need to re-educate ourselves. We need to understand what is happening in Bangladesh and why is it happening. And if we want to avoid those things in Pakistan, we have to focus on that. कि repression नहीं होना चाहिए, rigged election नहीं होना चाहिए, disappearances नहीं होने चाहिए, extrajudicial killing नहीं होनी चाहिए. और ये मुझे ताज्जुब होता है कि हमारे यहाँ so called democratic governments हैं और थाना culture वही चल रहा है. Why can't they focus on it? Why can't the political parties? They can do a lot. Why don't they do it? Because of what Dr. Masuma said, it's the fear of youth. इसलिए थाना कल्चर होना है, इसलिए इलेक्शंस रिग होना है. It is the fear of the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. As it is already mentioned by my respected teacher, Professor Sikander Mehdi, Pakistan, as inshallah stated, rest assured कोई तकरीर नहीं होगी, direct question होगा with His Excellency Ambassador Siddiqui. Sir, my question is regarding you are summoned by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Dhaka. So I just go to in history, past history, June 28, 1919, the signing ceremony of the Treaty of Versailles. My teacher, late Professor Dr. Ibrahim Shah Bukhari, who is also the proud member of this institute, and he left this world last week, just pay tribute to him also. He told that the German delegation was not treated gracefully, though they were the part of the signing of the treaty. So you were given the third grade protocol. It was tactical. So on the basis of the history, you see 1919 and 2024, Germany, France, USA, and United Kingdom, they are enjoying the cordial relations. So we are also hopeful that Bangladesh, as a part of the United Pakistan, now the sovereign and brotherly country, Pakistan can enjoy the same lines of the cordiality. Thank you.
I am very optimistic. Politics is a game of unpredictable things. और मैं उम्मीद रखता हूँ. मैं तो समझता हूँ इंडिया से भी बेहतर हो सकते हैं, let alone Bangladesh. Thank you.
I'm now going to wrap up this session. I want to thank Ambassador Saab, Rafiuz Zaman Siddiqui, and Professor Sikander Mehdi very much for their excellent presentations and the excellent way in which they handled the questions. I also want to thank all of you for being such a wonderful audience. And in the end, I would like to say that we have used the word revolution very casually. A revolution is a very serious thing. And I will quote from one of the greatest revolutionaries of all time, that is Chairman Mao. And I will read out what he said about a revolution. He said, A revolution is neither a dinner party, nor writing an essay, painting a picture, or doing embroidery. It cannot be so refined, so leisurely, gentle, temperate, kind, courteous, restrained, or magnanimous. A revolution is an insurrection, an act of violence by which one class overthrows another. Thank you very much for your presence, for being such a wonderful audience, and tea is served on the ground floor.